Hello and welcome to PMQ Pizza. I'm Brian Hernandez, and today I am with Chelsea Didinger, PhD, a bean wizard of A Legume A Day. Say hello, Chelsea.
Hi, thanks for having me. Really excited to talk about two delicious foods, pizza and beans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we're looking to do a little more. I being the test chef here at PMQ and coming from the pizza making part of it. I enjoy trying to find interesting ingredients, and I get to see it from a lot of the U.S. Pizza team guys. They show me how it's done, basically. But I like beans and I like pizza, like you said. So my next one, I thought, why not try that? I got some beans in my garden growing. I got some
Nice.
cow peas, I believe. I
All
think they're just
right.
now kind of forming. So it'd be cool to see if I can put some of those on a pizza here shortly. So I came up with
Yeah.
a list of about 20 questions and I sent them to Chelsea, and basically she sent me a lot of information back. So
Sorry.
but no, that's great. So we're going to go into depth in we'll go in depth in this in PMQ Pizza Magazine as well. But also just wanted to get this kind of on the record. So if anybody wants to just listen to this in the car or give it a watch, we can do it that way. So Chelsea, why don't you give us a brief rundown of who you are and why you like beans so much?
Well, beans are the perfect food, so that's why I love them so much. But yeah, I was doing my PhD in nutrition and I wanted to work with a food that I felt really passionate about. And for me, that was beans because they have the nutrition aspect, of course, but there's so much more to it than that as well. They are delicious. You can use them in so many different ways. And I've traveled abroad, I've lived abroad, and you just get to see beautiful global cuisines the way they use beans. So there's that. There's the versatility and different products they can be used in different foods like pizza, right? You can do anything with them and good for the planet, good for people. I can't say enough good things about them. So I started A Legume A Day to share with people kind of behind the scenes a little bit of bean world because I get to spend a lot of time out in bean fields. I get to talk to bean processors, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was we were talking a minute ago, and it's a very informative website for something to just kind of for the heck of it website. You said you kind of
Thanks.
you were learning about beans and you wanted to share what you learned, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and give us a rundown of what makes a bean a bean? Just we're not going to go into the history of beans as much as we could, but we're just kind of give it the rundown, and then we'll jump into the pizza aspect, guys. So, what makes a
All
bean
right.
a bean?
So, beans are a type of legume, and something really special about beans is generally the technical, if we get into technical kind of jargon and everything, they're those dry beans. So, they're not like a peanut, not like a soybean, which have higher fat or oil content. Not a bad thing, but just makes them a different type of legume. So beans are their own kind of separate category. It's like pinto beans, kidney beans, black beans, navy beans. There are lots of different types of them, but they are one of the best natural sources of fiber. Also, really good for protein and actually nutrients like potassium, just lots of great nutrition there. So, they are, yeah, their own separate species within the legume family, is kind of how that works.
Well, I mean, I was looking at it and it was throwing a lot of new words at me about, I mean, it kind of brings me to my next question, which is the common miscategorizations, because it was throwing new words at me that I'd never seen associated with the bean. So,
Yeah.
why don't you give me a kind of a breakdown of some of the like, is a peanut a bean or is it a vegetable? Is it a fruit? I don't know.
Great question. And if I start waving my hand, it's because I have a mental image that I'm looking at, but you probably
But
can't see
nobody.
the mental image. Yeah, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But so legume is the overarching category, and then it's kind of broken down into several different types. But the main ones I'll focus on that are really good fits for food space, food applications are those oil seed legumes. So oil implying that they have that higher oil, they have that higher fat content. So that'd be like a peanut and a soybean. So they're over here on their own kind of branch of the legume family. So they're not a bean. And sadly, I've sad news for people when they tell me that they've had coffee beans for breakfast or they've had chocolate and they've had beans for breakfast. That doesn't count. Those aren't beans either. And I'm sorry. I know the names are misleading. But so we have the oil seed legumes over here, and then we have the non-oil seed. And so There's more. Hang with me. I'm almost there, right? So from these non-oil seeds with the lower fat content in them, you have kind of the fresh ones like you grow in the garden, like snap peas, snap beans. And then you have this word pulse. And so the pulse is a very specific one. Again, I'm going with my mental diagram here, right? But these are
Mm,
the dry edible seeds of these non-oil seed legumes. So it'd be like a bean, and there are multiple types of beans. We kind of talked about some of those. And then chickpeas, so those are a type of pulse. They're technically not a bean. It'd also be cowpeas. You said you're growing some cowpeas. It'd be lentils. It'd be, split peas. Those dry peas. So those are all types of pulses. And the one other thing that's not a bean that I actually truly have had people tell me is their favorite bean is a jelly bean. And again, I'm
ah,
sorry, it doesn't quite count. I know. Hate to be the bearer of bad
I,
news.
do people tell you that all the time? Is it?
I've gotten it more than once. I'll be honest.
Well, if anybody's watching, I did find that I prepared slightly and had a picture of some legumes and some pulses, kind of her mental diagram
Yeah. They
fleshed
look
out a wee
similar.
bit.
See the hand waving.
Yeah. I could see it. I pictured it, and I'm like, where have I seen that before? So, um, we'll get back into that a little bit more again because it's. I mean, if you're just listening to it, it smacks you in the head. I'm gonna be
It
honest,
does, it
Chelsea.
does.
It's like it's a lot.
It's jargon. I mean, the,
So
the bottom line is all pulses, whether you're going to call them pulses, we're going to call them beans. They're incredibly healthy for you. So I wouldn't worry too much about the naming. But yeah, if you want to get into jargon fun, we can.
yeah. Well, today, folks, we'll just tell you if it's a bean and trust us. Just take
There
our
you
word for it.
go.
All right. So, just real quick, I mean, we kind of talked about the life cycle of the bean, maybe, or we talked about
Yeah.
different stages, or no, actually, no, that's different. Pulses a different type. So, what? Just a real quick, from dirt to picking.
Yeah,
How
I'm
you
gonna
go?
give let's pick an example of let's go with pinto beans. And I'm picking pinto beans because it is the one that we actually grow the most of here in the US. And also I live in Colorado. That's the bean we grow the
Uh,
most of here. And so it's just kind of an easy example to talk through. And so it's actually right now is planting season. It depends on the weather, but right around late May, early June, growers are going to plant the beans after they get them from bean processors, right? And then after planting, and within a few days or so, that adorable little baby bean like pops up, right? And then about again, it all depends, but let's say, halfway or so into the season, the plants are flowering. They're beautiful. Pinto beans have white flowers, but like a black bean has a purple flower, and little pods start to come out. Then the pods get longer. And if you've seen just something like a snap bean or something, or a snap pea growing in your garden or in growing somewhere, then it's like that. It looks similar in the beginning in that, it's that nice pod. And actually the seeds, again, I'm sorry with the hand gestures, but if you open it up, those
uh,
seeds inside are green and they're still soft. But as the season goes on, they'll dry down and they'll take on that color that they have. So like a pinto bean, it starts out, green, but then as it matures, it gets that nice kind of tan brown mottling going on, and it dries down sort of in the field. So around, fall, depends on when they planted, but about 90 days or so after planting, that's when it's time to harvest them. So there are different methods of harvest. We don't need to get into the details, but beans they are harvested dry.
nice. So, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say we can talk. We'll talk about that in the actual print article, I believe, because there are several different things that you were talking about that people are starting to do. You think so? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Got to follow up with the companion info, guys. I'm just
I
watching
mean, I
this.
can share more, but then we leave a cliffhanger.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go here to find out. I was just, if you're not watching, I'm watching a bean grow, guys. If you're just listening, it's not exciting. So we'll move on. Um, all right, so let's just jump into the culinary side of it, guys. I got to take that bean off. It's distracting. It's fascinating, though. That's what I'm watching in
Isn't
real
it fun
time.
to
Is those
watch?
things? Oh, I go out there every day. I mean, some days there were some times where I could see them move just slightly, and I'm sit there with my coffee, like I saw it, I saw it.
It moves,
So
and cowpeas have really pretty flowers too.
I haven't got those yet, so I'm waiting.
We have something good to look forward to.
I was able to get a first small harvest of like purple beans. Um,
Nice.
Very good. I like those just because they look like Incredible Hulk when you snap them open, like the
Yes.
purple and the green. So,
Yes.
so all right, guys. I'm sorry. I promised culinary stuff. What is the most overlooked bean in American cuisine? Do you think? What is one that's out there that people just don't use enough, or maybe don't know about that it's just super awesome?
That's so hard to say 'cause honestly, my opinion is that a lot of beans are overlooked. Like, the actual bean consumption in the US is pretty low, which is too bad because 'cause they're so delicious and they're so good for us and the planet. But I think what I'll do is I'll share a couple comments. So I hear a lot of times people, not a lot, but plenty of people have told me, "Oh, I don't like kidney beans." Maybe they don't like a red kidney bean, which again
Right.
makes me sad 'cause kidney beans are beautiful and delicious. But I'll then hear people come and say, "Oh, but I love cannellini beans." So cannellini beans are actually white kidney beans. So there's a fun fact for you. So even if you think you don't like kidney beans, maybe you do. You just didn't realize it had a different name, right? So there's that. And then another one that people kind of overlook sometimes or they don't realize is they'll tell me their favorite type of bean is baked beans. Well, that's kind of like the sauce and everything, but baked beans are actually they're navy beans. So your fun bean fact is navy beans are what is making the baked beans.
Meatloaf sandwich.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I might have dated myself on that one. So, yeah, I'm looking. That was a fun fact about that cannellini bean. I'm like, yeah, take that, nerds.
I know.
That's interesting. I
I
like
kind of
that.
chuckled to myself.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, just reading your answers, it got me googling a lot of stuff, and I'm like, wow, very cool, very cool. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it's I see what you mean. I mean, when people ask me what's my favorite pizza, I have an answer of, I like them all for different reasons. But I mean, I
Right.
can see how you think most beans are kind of underutilized or under-recognized in the culinary world, just because not culinary. I lie. I'm sorry. Of course not.
Culinary people are
In
more
the
on top
pizza
of it.
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Yeah, and our pizza guys are culinary guys, and there are several out there
Yeah.
just busting down walls. I don't care what it is; they'll find a way to make it awesome.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I meant
um,
consumers might not realize how cool beans are, but the culinary people, they're there, right? And consumers are coming on board
yeah,
too.
it's outside the norm, so people get nervous at first. So
Yes.
you almost got to train them that no, it's okay.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, I was gonna ask if there's a difference between a legume and a pulse, and also what is a pulse, but I think you clarified that pretty well for us earlier. Um, So again, how can different preparation methods, boiling, roasting, fermenting, change a bean's flavor profile? I almost thought I was going to say texture, and I'm like, that's a stupid question, of course. But
Alright.
I mean, obviously, they're the obvious ways it'll change the texture. But I mean, does anyone preparing one bean a certain way enhance its flavor profile before you throw it on the pizza? Maybe you throw it on afterwards, prepped a certain way.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you ultimately wanna use it. So, boiling, it sounds like you're not really doing much to it, but you totally could be. So, you can just
Okay.
add only salt, but you could also add aromatics, you could add other flavors that the bean does a great job of soaking up those flavors and then use it in the pizza that you have in mind. So, it could
Right.
soak up, different herbs, it could soak up an oniony flavor, mushroom, you could do it in a mushroom broth, like whatever flavor you want, there is a really great opportunity to get it into the bean. And then it's going to be soft after boiling. So you could use it in a puree or you could use it as a topping. And if you're boiling yourself, you can kind of see, how far you want to take it in terms of how soft it gets. And then roasting is a great way to get some nice nuttiness going on. If you've ever had like a roasted chickpea or something. So you get that nuttiness that gets upped a lot, but you can also season them when you're roasting them. So in addition to kind of a boost in the nuttiness, you can have whatever seasonings you're added and cooking that with a little bit of oil as you know boost those flavors as well.
Right.
And then fermentation is a fun way to get that umami going on. So one way of fermenting beans is to, well, you could make tempeh or you could purchase tempeh, so that's an option there. We're getting into a little bit of jargon because sometimes it's often done with like a soybean, which is technically not a bean, but it's a legume, and for today we'll just say beans, right? So there are great options there for those fermented products to be in toppings if it's something like a tempeh, or to have it as added to your sauce or the seasoning that you might use.
Mhm. I mean, I'd say don't hold back on like legumes. I mean, if that's the more encompassing one, that's the one I want. I don't want it to be necessarily restricted because um, it's almost like freshwater fish versus saltwater fish in a fish tank. Sometimes the better looking ones are the ones you're restricting. You don't want to do that. So maybe the legumes look better. I don't know. I don't know.
You
We'll
play with
see.
all of
We'll
them.
get
There's
to
no
that.
reason to not enjoy all of them. Exactly.
Yeah, there's no reason. Yeah, why separate them? So what are the top three legumes? I know I said beans, and that's probably how you
No,
were
we'll go
answering
with
it, so we
beans.
can
It's
go
fine.
with that. But what are the top three beans that you'd recommend for pizza use? And why, and maybe a prep idea for some of the stuff that you're throwing at us.
Yeah, so I think kind of a soft start could be a good option. So some beans that are maybe more familiar might be a good place to start, although of course you can definitely have fun exploring other ones. But white bean is not a type of bean. There are multiple types of white beans, but I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna say white beans is one of them because I think it's a great way to use them in a puree and have a nice, creamy, really satisfying sauce. And they can really soak up. They're very kind of neutral flavored and oftentimes very creamy, something
Right.
like a cannellini, like a Great Northern. So it's a great opportunity to get a nice, beautiful sauce or puree that you can use on your pizza. So I think white beans are an option there. And also even within that white bean category, right, you have something like a baked bean that is already seasoned. And I believe you told me you liked maybe beans on toast. So you could take that type of
Oh,
approach where you're using, yeah, a seasoned bean and top that with cheese and have beans on pizza. But you might have to come up with a better name. Catch your name, I'll leave that up to you. But you know what I'm saying, right?
yeah.
So
Got Gordon Ramsay here schooling some American people on beans on toast here. So,
there we go.
um,
Yeah, exactly. But so
yeah,
that's
it's part of that traditional breakfast. It's delicious. It's
exactly. It's delicious. And on pizza too, I actually to prep for this, I was like, well, I can't say this if I haven't had it recently. So I did make a pizza with some baked beans earlier this week, and it was delightful. I did it as a puree. I pureed them, and then I also had them whole, and I liked both ways. So I preferred the puree. My husband actually preferred the whole, so you could do both. But so white beans are one of them, and then I think black beans is another good one because
yeah.
again, you can take it in a kind of a puree. You could even do well, you're the I'm sorry, you're the pizza expert, not me. So I don't know if it's cheating to use something like a refried bean as like a sauce on a pizza, but you could do that type of approach with black beans, or you can do them as a topping as well and just kind of play into that southwestern flavor profile. Pinto
Yep.
beans could work there too. But then I think chickpeas are the third one that I'll recommend. And I think hummus is one reason because hummus, I don't think it's a gimmick. I think it's a great sauce for pizza. I'd be interested to hear your opinion as well. And then also topping it, you can do crispy chickpeas. You can do different types. You could even use a chickpea flour in the crust itself. So a lot of versatility there.
Yeah, and that can get, like you said, it could be like a whole theme throughout that pie too. And we
Mhm.
use black beans at Pizza X in Bloomington,
Yay.
just as is, just out of the can. I mean, so and they were good too. I really liked them. But I mean, there's and that was just the minimal prep. I just remembered use those beans fast, guys.
Yes.
They're like a day. You better use them in that day, or you're done. Beans don't like to live, I guess.
You
But
just got to
yeah, they
eat
had.
them.
I
Leftovers. There
know.
you
Yeah,
go. There's your breakfast
that's
or your snack.
that's what it was. So I was taking the beans home. So who wants the beans today? Oh, beans again. But yeah. So I mean, all great ideas. I like the chickpeas on there. You know, getting a little unique, like you said, instead, with the cannellini beans and just um. Oh, there's something I almost alluded to something else that's coming up later. That's a question I was going to ask. So, so how when you've got now we've got these guys convinced. Oh, and also I did want to say that the baked beans is something that I mean I think it's probably one that they'll probably people would have the most access to on a
Yeah,
regular basis that they could experiment with. But they also pack a lot of that flavor just because of the whatever sauce they're baked
exactly.
within. So, um, like like you did, you do the sauce, and I think I would prefer the niblets. It doesn't hurt for both, but
Yeah.
little dollops of little dollops of beans, and then take them, puree them, and make a drizzle on it so that it's like kind of
Yeah,
everywhere. But um,
exactly. I did
and
a
toast
hot honey
bits,
one.
yeah, get some toast bits, some little bread on top, so it's like beans on toast on
Huh.
crust on.
I like that idea a
But
lot.
yeah,
It's good, and
so
they're fun different flavor profiles. I did a hot honey one this time, so I had a little bit of a kick with it too, which was nice.
but everything else in the English. Oh wow. Everything else in that English breakfast is very, you could do half the beans on toast and then the other half, which is like thick. I think it's a thick meat, but like a chunk,
Mhm.
like a tomato, like a quarter of a tomato. So there could be a cool theme of a English breakfast with a half and half
I like
type.
that.
So I don't know. Anyway, that might be the next one I do.
I would order that.
Um, well, all right, but well, very good. Then we'll give it a shot. So, all right. So, is there any? Here's the next question. So, or actually, yeah. So, are there any bean based sauces that you would recommend?
Well, I think a lot, honestly. So like I said, I think
Ha.
hummus is a good option because you can use a hummus. You could make your own. You could take it any flavor direction that you want, or you could use a hummus that you purchase that's already flavored. But a hummus is one way to make it seasonal as well. So you could do like a roasted squash hummus or something like that. So the hummus I think works nicely, or just a bean puree. It doesn't have to be a chickpea. It doesn't have to be a hummus. You could do, for instance, I'm going to say like a Great Northern or a cannellini, one of those white beans. And I like to puree those with a little bit of nutritional yeast and artichoke marinade or artichoke heart marinade, and kind of like make a nice, really flavorful sauce out of that. That's also a vegan option. I'm not vegan, but it's nice to have plant-based options for folks as well. So that's one way that I like to take that bean sauce. And
Yeah.
then also any kind of pre-seasoned beans you might have. So if it's you maybe have a Southwest pre-seasoned bean or something like that, then you could also puree those or puree the baked beans or something and make a nice sauce out of that. So you can use pre-seasoned ones to kind of cut down on prep time if there's one that you like to purchase.
All right. I was looking at just the tempeh bacon just caught my eyes. I flew by my notes, so you'll have to give us that recipe. Well, I'd like to try that and maybe do
Sure.
some kind of bean recipe to go along with this. So,
Yeah, and then
um,
I saw the question pop up about storing canned or cooked beans. I don't know if you wanted to
yep, that
it
was going to be the
disappeared.
next one. I
Oh, sorry, I got
figured
ahead of
I
myself. I was so
no,
excited.
I
I saw it
got
on your screen, and so
I
I thought, "Oh,
I
it
got
went away
ahead
on
and
his screen."
I changed the order last second. I did. No, it was I wanted to talk about the sauces since I was trying to jump the gun anyway. I'm like, just get it
Sauces are a
done.
good place to talk first,
S-
yes.
Yeah. So now that we've done our sauces, we're hooked on it. So yeah, we want to try some beans. We got several
Mhm.
varieties. How should pizzeria store dried versus canned beans? I mean, besides the obvious, I mean, and tell us the obvious, please. But I mean, enlighten us too on what we might not think about.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're probably all pretty on top of it already. Canned beans are easy because it's already the date is labeled on the can and everything. After you open it, they can store for a bit in the fridge, and you could freeze them if you needed to, but I'd recommend not having to go through that process if you don't need to, right? Use them and then send them home with somebody who wants to enjoy them as a
Mhm.
snack. And then on the terms of dry beans, this is going to sound silly because they're already called dry beans, right? But you don't want to store them too long because they will become even drier, and then it'll become harder to rehydrate them quickly and with a nice even hydration. So I'd say generally speaking, you want to use them within a year or two after purchasing them. If you do see a date on the bag, you can look at that. But even if the date is 5 years out from when you purchase it, I'd say you probably want to use them earlier than that just to get the best quality and nice texture out of the bean and to make sure they don't take too long to cook. But once you have dry beans, you want to store them in like a pantry type situation, cool, dark, dry place. Same thing with a can. You want to store a can in a not exposed to tons of sun or heat as well. So those things, but especially for dry beans, you don't want any friends getting in and trying to just enjoy like by friends here I'm talking pest or something, which hopefully
Yeah.
there wouldn't be anyway, but you don't want any to be attracted to the dry beans.
And steal your beans.
Exactly, it would be very upsetting.
So, will dry beans ever completely shrivel and evaporate into dust? That was an audience question. That wasn't me.
I love this question. I have never been asked if they will evaporate into dust. you know I don't think so. They will get very, very dry, and the moisture can drop to very, very low, but they've found beans that are, I'm gonna say, hundreds of years old. I'm not a food historian, so I don't remember the exact age of these beans, and they've been able to supposedly plant them and grow them again. So I don't know how well they grew, but they were hundreds of years old and they were not dust yet. So I'm gonna say no, unless much longer than the human lifespan.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, that's the Google's not telling me when I want to. So that stupid AI, you gotta always get rid of the AI responses. It always messes you up. So, all right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm
No, they will
interested now
dry
to
to a
find that
point where you can't really cook them anymore, though.
they
So,
will. Okay,
don't want
because
him to
I'm
get to
yeah,
that point.
yeah, yeah. Now I have to find it. I want to find out what that oldest bean never found was. It was interesting because I mean, you would assume, yeah, that some of the archaeological finds, they'd still be in some gold
Exactly.
pots or something like that. It makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep.
So I never
I've
thought of
heard a
it.
few stories like that.
Really, that's so awesome.
Mhm.
Like, let's grow 'em. It's like finding that toad in the rock that, comes back to
Exactly.
life or whatever. Alright, so, how should they dry it? Let's say, what cultural What cultural cuisines should pizzerias explore for bean inspiration? Why did I write that like that? Um,
Bean
so
puns are great.
I know. Well, the cultural cuisines I can't say. I write stuff that I can read but can't
Oh,
say. And
I thought you meant the bean inspiration.
well, if I'd have been able to nail it, it would have been fine. But yeah. So bean inspiration. I mean, there's a lot of different regional beans. Different countries use
There
different
are.
beans differently.
Yeah.
What are some of the top players we should kind of look at to adapt to pizza recipes?
Well, I mean, obviously people know their customer base the best, so they'll have to play into that. But some ideas are Latin cuisine, which obviously is very broad, but they're known for having amazing bean dishes and using beans in lots of different ways, versatile types of beans, applications. So I think there's a lot of inspiration there beyond just something like a pinto bean or a black bean or a refried bean. Those are all great, but they have a lot of other different types of beans and also fun flavor combinations to consider. So I
Right.
think that's a good one. I also think that Indian cuisine is very famous for different types of pulses. So you can look for the fun flavor profiles and the different ways that they're using pulses as well. And then Mediterranean, if you're playing around with chickpea, there are lots of wonderful Mediterranean combinations with chickpeas and using other profiles. And I'm going to throw in one last one too. I'm biased because I lived in Korea, but I feel like Korean flavors are very popular in the US. And so it even if it's not necessarily a recipe that has beans in it originally, I like making kimchi beans, for example. And so you could do something like a play on that with pizza. You could, puree the bean and kimchi in the sauce and put cheese on top. Or if you want to get crazy, and again, I'm not sure if this is allowed in proper pizza world, but Asia is famous for bean desserts. They do, multiple countries in Asia have different styles and different types of bean desserts. But you could even try to do a dessert pizza to follow up your savory pie.
It is allowed. People do it.
Okay.
Um, and Korean, you're not wrong. I was years ago. I was doing. There was a big burst on the scene of Korean barbecue style
Mhm.
pizzas and a lot of stuff like that. So, yeah, yeah. So it's not unheard of. So, um, yeah, those are all great ideas, and I look forward to trying and put some of them to use for sure. What are some of the this was what I like because this got me looking at some stuff. Is what are some of the regional bean varieties that would actually wow customers? And if you're not watching now, well, sucks to be you. But if you're listening, we'll describe them as best we can. So, um, yeah, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah.
tell us some of the that would look great on a pizza, as well as taste good and function well.
Sh Sure. So one of my favorite types of again, it's too hard to pick a favorite, right? But one of my favorite
Uh-huh.
types is calypso beans, and they're beautiful. They're also called yin yang beans, so maybe that'll help people picture them. But one nice thing about them is after you cook them, they actually hold their pattern. And so these the ones showing on the screen now are actually orca beans, and they're very similar to calypso beans. So these are
Oh,
two different
biscuits.
options. Oh, it's okay. It often gets this is stock yeah, it happens all the time that these orcas are called that they get switched, and I think the
Okay.
reason is why calypso beans actually look more like an orca, in my opinion, than orca beans. Orca beans look more like a Holstein cow type of situation, but either of these
Well,
have that similar black and white modeling that stays. It not as black after cooking, it might be more gray, but it has that nice pattern that will stick. Sorry,
yeah,
Brian,
I
I
think
think
I
I cut you
follow.
off.
No, I was just looking for it. Is it maybe this? Because I
Yes,
was
that's it.
mad that
That's a calypso bean.
da- dang interwebs lied to me.
It happens all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
So
sorry. They're both great options, but yeah, it's often mislabeled, and again, I do think part of the reason is they look similar, and honestly, don't you think these look more like orcas than the other one that's called orca bean?
yeah, I thought those look like cows, and this one I could
It's
see yin
exactly.
yang, but I definitely see orca. I definitely
I
see orca
completely
now.
agree.
So sorry, guys. It's basically black with a white dot and white with a black dot on it, and
Yeah,
depending on which way you
they're
look like
very
it looks like
fun.
a killer whale. So,
Yeah, and the
um,
texture is wonderful on these. They have a thin skin, but they still hold their shape really nice. They have that beautiful
okay.
color, really creamy. I love these. And then two of the other ones that or we'll start with one. Nah, we'll throw two at the same time. Scarlet runner beans and Christmas limas. Those are both really big beans. So here's an example of the scarlet runner, and it's gorgeous, right? But it's also
Uh-huh.
again, if you're not watching, you can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but these they're big beans. So it's like very satisfying, meaty bite of bean. And same deal with the Christmas lima. Christmas lima, maybe a little bit larger even, but they're a little bit flatter. And these are another really just beautiful bean. So I think they would catch
Yeah.
people's attention if you use them.
There's a lot of for the Scarlet Runner, it's a lot of pastels. They look like giant honking jelly beans. Um,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of pinks, purples, and I've of course, I guess it depends on the pod that you get, but some beautiful, beautiful, colors on them. So
Yeah,
when they
they're
go by,
stunning.
if you maintain that color in preparation, it's going to catch people's eyes for sure. And then the other one was the Christmas lima bean, which is I'm not sure. Maybe you could tell me if I got the correct one,
You
but
did.
it was just
I'm sorry
a
I
little more
didn't.
muted. Some of the
Yeah, the
purple, like red
upper, like,
cabbage and
right
white.
one, yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
so I think the upper right side and everything, you're seeing the dried down one. So as beans dry, their color often kind of intensifies, as they get closer to that
okay.
stage, and so those are the dry ones you're seeing up there, and very, very beautiful one, and perfect for, when you get close to holiday season.
Yeah, and not to rub it in just for anybody who's not watching again, but I mean, it was just I wanted to, kind of illustrate the point here again that there is just an array of colors that
Yes.
you can use for these things, ranging from like earth tones to
Mhm.
jelly bean colors. I mean, honking like the color of tennis shoes that people were wearing in the 80s, It's so I think
No,
you
exactly.
said all colors of the bean rainbow or something at one point, I think, in your
Yeah, yeah,
questions. It's
when we're
really what it
talking
is.
nutrition. Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
see, it's beautiful and it's even people eat with their eyes, but it is nutritional wins as well. If your customers are also big into nutrition, those different colors, they have different antioxidants, so win-win situation here.
yeah. What's the I think I left this question off just because you were like, "I don't know." But what's the healthiest bean out there? You had a better answer than that, but,
No, I think that was the exact thing I wrote in the document, right? Uh, There isn't a one answer to that because the reality is they're all incredibly healthy, and I'm not just saying that to be difficult. Like the nutritional profile is similar across beans in terms of amount of fiber, amount of protein. There are slight variations in things, but
Mhm,
overall, I would really recommend rather than just going for one that people aim for variety. It's fun to have variety and it's adds more flavor and everything, but it's also things like the antioxidants or slight differences in the types of fiber, or some beans are better for iron bioavailability. So there are just those
mhm.
different wins associated with different types. So you're getting great fiber and protein from any of them, so that's not a concern, but then for those other considerations, variety really is beneficial there.
So you can really kinda color code it to your needs.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's kinda cool. But I mean, yeah, you're right, all the different colors denote different properties that it, help, so all right, well, it's exciting to see all those different things that people can do, or different varieties that people can actually start playing with. But we know, overcooking or just texture is key. It's a big
Yeah.
thing why people say they don't eat a food, even if they maybe like the flavor. I'm big on that, Jello. I can't eat it. Gotta liquefy it. So what's the point? It's just anyway,
Yeah.
that's one. But that being said, how do you handle bean texture on pizza, mushy versus firm? And again, we kind of talked about this in your preparation. Um, does roasting do you suggest only roasting certain types of legumes or how do you battle this or what are some suggestions for gaining each style?
Yeah, I think that some beans are just naturally they're gonna be a bit softer. So use beans like that in things like a puree, but also if you're cooking them dry or you can cook them a little bit longer and so you can make them a softer texture, which is going to make the puree maybe all that much easier to make. How it could be creamier and everything. So I think that's a good option. But in terms of if you want a little bit more texture to it, there are certain beans that just they have that meatier texture. So a common one, a common pulse is going to be like that chickpea, that which is also called a garbanzo bean. And those have a little
Haha.
bit more just I know, which really gets difficult with the jargon since it's not technically a bean and it's a pulse. Who knows who came up with these things, but that already is a little bit firmer, but if you roast it a bit, you're getting, a different flavor profile and then you can make it a little bit firmer too. So I think roasting is a great option. And then, there are beans like we talked about, some like that, like the Scarlet Runner or something. It's going to have that nice and kind of meatier texture. So I think just playing around with different types will really let you know where you want to land in terms of how firm of a bean you want on your pizza. But if it's one that you find often turns mushy, I'd say then it's great for a puree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Play it to its strengths. Obviously, again, some of these
Yeah.
questions are just obvious, but we want to put them out there in the etherverse so that they're reinforced. That we're trying to reinforce it, basically.
There we go.
So I think we've talked about this really. I mean, I was just gonna say, could fermented bean pastes like miso or I can never pronounce this. Donjang. How do you say
Doenjang.
that?
Yeah, doenjang.
Donjang. Yeah, that was close.
Mhm.
Um,
Sure.
but does it work on pizza? But I mean, it goes again with just to the style of pizza you're doing. But I mean, didn't you mention a couple
Yeah.
styles already?
Yeah, a couple styles of, pizza, or a couple things that would go well with this, you mean?
Well, I mean, a couple of pizza styles that maybe we're using, not the Korean, but I guess miso is not Korean. That's Japanese, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, and
Showing my
doenjang is
ignorance. That's what I
Korean.
thought. Yeah, doenjang. Okay, yeah. So that's what I thought. So yeah, like was Korean style. Use this. What do you utilize this? So I don't know. I'm babbling at this point. Take it away.
No, I think you could. I mean, I haven't had a pizza with doenjang when I was living in Korea, which is not to say that it wasn't there. Maybe I just didn't eat it. But I think you can also use it when you're seasoning, whether you want to take that into the puree to give it some of that flavor there, or whether you want to season your toppings with it. I think both of these are great options, but also that if a drizzle. So if you wanted to do like a sort of a drizzle or a little bit of a sauce
Yeah.
on top of the pizza after you're done, I think that's a good option for, at least for doenjang. And then for miso, I like, well, I really like miso and everything. So I guess it's hard, but I really like eggplant miso or something like that. So
Mm,
you can use, especially with veggies, giving it that nice earthy boost that comes from these, I think is a good choice.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
We
fermented
asked.
beans tempeh too is another. It's not a paste, but tempeh. I've had tempeh. It's traditionally made with soybeans, but you can also make it, or you can also purchase it. In my case, because I was too lazy to make it, you can
Mhm.
get a chickpea one or a black bean one, or different types of tempeh. And so you can, especially for folks who are more plant based, it is popular to make something like a tempeh bacon, and so you could use that as a topping too. So bringing in some of the fermentation there.
Well, that's. I mean, I like that because yeah, and I was trying to remember why everything you're saying sounds very familiar and why I've already kind of akin to it. I went vegan for 3 months a few years ago.
Okay.
And so that's going to start incorporating a lot of the chickpea flours and more of the other,
Mhm. Nutritional yeast.
replacing meat with meaty vegetables and things like that, and
Mhm.
nutritional yeast and things like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know if you could tell the whole outside just got really blue. That's weird. So, um, but yeah, so that's it. I mean, the beans lend themselves to the sauce toppings, even in the crust, guys. It's really kind of the versatility can't be saying about enough. Um, I was going to ask, I guess, just again, what's your take on hummus pizza, legit or lazy? You said, it's I think it's fine. Just
Okay, good. I'm glad
topping.
to hear you say that. I was like, my opinion is it's okay, but I'm curious what an
Well,
expert has to say.
it's how you use it. Depends. I mean, you can't be lazy about it. Try to make it just like pretend like you're always watching Chopped and then use it in an interesting way versus just putting it on there.
Yeah,
But I mean, in a pinch, you could put it on there. As a sauce, it wouldn't be. I'm. It's sometimes those things are thicker. It's really hard. I don't.
it can be, yeah.
It can be done. It's harder to put it on the pizza. So a lot of times, it's better to do some kind of oil base or something like that, and then
Mhm.
you can, or even no base at all, but just put dollops of it in
Dollops of it,
areas or
yeah.
pinches so that you get the flavor, but it's not, at least for quickness and ease of prep, making the pizza. But
Yeah,
having it
I
as a
like the
sauce
dollops
base,
idea.
leads open up the rest of the pizza for all those different flavors that go along with the hummus. So,
Right.
and textures too. You can put little, pita, like hard pitas towards the end, like almost, I
Yeah,
want to say crumble
ooh.
them on. It's getting kind of like crumbling Doritos on a pizza, but I still think it would taste good. Not Doritos, but the pita stuff.
Yeah, I'd be more into the pita approach than the Doritos one.
Right. No, no, no. But no, there's
No, but
somebody.
that
I'm
sounds
just remembering this Mexican pizza somebody put Doritos on. It's just pops in my
really?
head everywhere. Yeah, I think it's in Milwaukee style or Quad City
Okay.
style did it. No, so no, no, no. I'm sorry. I'm just not a fan of that, guys. I'm sorry. Waste of good pizza and good Doritos.
Oh, yeah, there you go. But hummus, you could make your own, and you could make it a thickness that works, whether you wanna dollop it or
Right.
wanted to try to do a spread, and so then it's definitely not lazy if you're making your own, and again, you can take that seasonal approach or regional approach, so you can build different flavors into that hummus
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Like you said, building your own adds that little more. It takes the laziness edge away. So you shouldn't be
Yeah.
really looking.
Then you're in the clear.
Yeah. So we were talking about disrespecting pizzas and Doritos here for a second. So how can pizza makers respect the bean without making it feel like a gimmick? They're just trying to cash grab or do something crazy for, just a quick buck. You know what I mean? How can people show that respect and show that they honor the legume?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope I'm honoring pizza well enough. But I can't speak for everybody here, but my opinion is that just being willing to try using beans, pulses, legumes, whatever your end of whatever jargon you want to go with there is already showing respect because you're spreading awareness for beans. They don't get as much attention as I feel they deserve. So spreading that awareness, getting people to try new things, I think that's a great option. So in my mind, that is already showing respect to them. And I guess one other thing I'd say is if you have a bad experience once, that doesn't mean that it's never going to work. Because as you've seen in some of these beautiful photos that Brian's been showing, there are so many different types that you can use, so many different ways you can take it. That be willing to try it a couple times, try different varieties, try different seasonings, and I'm sure you'll find something that you like.
Yeah. And I meant to be showing this earlier too. All this information we're talking about is on A Legume A day. Um, and I did have it all pulled up, but I was looking at the bean pictures. But
No worries. I haven't done a pizza post yet, so I'm inspired to do one after when this
okay.
goes live. I will put it up there and I will write about pizza.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. That'll be great. I'd be interested to see what you come up with too. I like how you say garbanzo bean. It's just as I got Italian family, and they're always it's cagoots this, garbanzo bean that, and so it's like it just makes me laugh when I hear it. But now I know it's not really a bean, and I'll come back at them with that.
There you
I'm
go.
sure they'll like that.
I was gonna say
So
people, especially family, always love when you correct them.
yeah,
Goes
my
over real
dad
well.
knows. Yeah, that's my dad about that. So now that we've I guess we've asked about the bean or about the hummus. We've asked about respecting the bean. Um, I just found this in some of the written answers.
Yes.
Facilius vulgaris. It's just
There you
really
go.
cool.
That's the
That's my Roman times name. That's, so what is that? I don't know. It caught my attention, made me laugh. Facilius vulgaris. What is
Yeah, it's the
that?
scientific name for bean.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it
Yeah.
wasn't bad, but yeah, that's what
Yeah,
made me laugh.
you're
I'm like,
spot on.
vulgaris? Why vulgaris?
I know it doesn't
That's
look
what it
yeah,
was.
it doesn't look super nice, I guess, in that sense, but yep, that's the scientific name for bean.
All right. Well, now that's my Roman cosplay name.
I think that's
Facilius
great.
vulgaris. Yes.
Especially when you say it like that, it's perfect.
Yes. I have to add the flair. So, so I'm excited about this one. What is if you had your druthers, what is the perfect bean supreme pizza or the supreme bean pizza? I like that one even better. Supreme bean.
Oh, that does have a nice ring to it. Yes, this is well, okay. So if I'm going supreme, I'm going all out bean version, right? So I want a chickpea crust because I think chickpea flour in the crust is in a bean supreme pizza. I feel like it just has to be there, right? And then I want
Hmm.
some sort of bean puree. It can be the right thickness. I can check with you that it's the right thickness for the sauce, and we could also dollop it on there in case it's not the right consistency or texture. I'll trust your judgment there. And then on top, if I'm going supreme, I want multiple types of beans. So I feel like I want at least a few different colors. You can maybe have some more traditional ones there. You could throw in at least one heirloom bean and really just make this all about celebrating the versatility of beans. So I think that's a good one. And then I also think that you could do a chickpea supreme pizza. And so this would be just again for sure chickpea crust obviously, but then you can use like hummus as the base and you could do chickpeas on top which really lend themselves to lots of different flavors. I
Mhm.
feel like it would be fun to do one that also had some, maybe preserved lemon in there. I feel like that would be nice with the chickpeas. If you just use a little bit of it, don't want it to overpower or anything. But again, you could go
Yeah.
any direction with flavoring this that you want. I like the blue cheese, date, fig, like that type of combination. And I think chickpeas would play well with that. So they fit in a lot of different things, I think.
Wow, that all sounds good. And I think the bean puree as a sauce would be good because you can get it the right thickness,
Yeah,
however you do
exactly.
it. So that could even be another drizzle or yeah, that all sounds really good. So I hope
It needs
everybody's listening. I mean, it's the Chelsea Didinger Supreme Bean. So
I'm sure it'll be the top hit on their menu.
it could be. You never know. I mean, if done
You never
right,
know.
it all sounds delicious. So, all right. Well, here's the final question. Then I guess, what is your response to people who say that beans don't belong on pizza?
I say you don't know until you've tried, right? I think it's definitely worth trying because there's just so much you can play around with in this space. You can draw from lots of different global cuisines. There are different types of beans,
Yeah.
so many different types of beans. We only mentioned a few of them today. You can cook your own. You can get canned ones that are pre-seasons. Like there are just lots of different fun opportunities. And if you did have a bad experience, like I mentioned before, that doesn't mean that it would always be bad, right? Like I've had people that say, "Oh, I hate lima beans," and it's because they grew up with their parents boiling lime, overboiling when we're cooking lima beans. But then if you have them done well, then they're delicious all of a sudden. So similarly, if you've had one bad bean pizza experience, there are lots more out there, lots of different types of beans and flavors to play around with, and textures too.
Yeah. I mean, just on this one page, guys, everybody check out a legumeaday.com
Okay.
because it's got, I mean, just how to cook beans, but it goes through the whole list of the benefits of dried versus canned and all this stuff. So everything we just talked about here today, if you don't like my voice, go read it here. But I mean, you've got videos and all this stuff. I'm wondering if I was searching if I maybe like was about to show you one of your own videos, possibly. But there were just so many bean prep videos. I'm like, half the people aren't even watching, so I'm not gonna inundate it with a lot of visual stuff. But I mean, all this is great. I'm excited to try to put some beans on there. Like I said, I'm just testing out what grows in my garden and or how to not kill it. So
No, well,
um,
that's a different challenge that I can't help you with.
yeah, right. I got some spares growing in the front, but they're getting tall enough to where they're going to start wanting to grab onto something. So I got to go figure that out. Like
That's smart.
I I run out of space in the garden and I don't throw seeds away. I go find corners of the yard to plant them
I
just
love
to see
it.
what happens. So I got
Yeah.
a big area around my tree. So I've just been throwing all my seeds there. So I got
I bet
a
it's pretty.
bunch
Yeah,
of
grow some of the scarlet runners. They have really beautiful flowers. I wanna hear how your cowpeas and everything go.
well, yeah, that's what I did. I figured cowpeas would vine. I always also got cucumbers, like the lemon cucumbers and stuff like that too. Everything's weird, so it's colored carrots. You know, the rainbow colored carrots.
Of course.
Bunch of all the heirloom peppers and stuff. Yeah, everything's not just the regular one, just because I want to see the colors come out and just be fun with it.
Yeah.
But, it's not, there are only a few that do well. So I don't remember planting lettuce. Looks like lettuce. The Google tells me it's lettuce, but it's like the spindliest lettuce I've ever seen. So we'll see.
I don't have a green thumb, so I can't give tips. I just spend a lot of time with growers who are much better at growing beans than I am.
Yeah, I'm good at sprouting stuff. Like
There you
keeping it
go.
alive is different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to try out all the wonderful world of beans, all the colors of the rainbow, every single variety. But like you said, people should go out and check out for some of those heirloom varieties. Get some with color, get some with more meat to replace the meat, or make a vegetarian option.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be vegan. I mean, you can still, you can still be healthy without, going crazy. But
absolutely.
I'm excited. What is like one of the final things that you got that you want to tell the world about beans and where they can find you?
Ooh, the final thing I wanna tell people about beans, tell a friend, you know? Enjoy some beans yourself and go out and share with somebody else one cool bean fact, and share that bean love, and I hope that you get to try something delicious, and you also have the satisfaction of knowing that you are enjoying one of the healthiest foods. It's also wonderful for the planet, and maybe that you are the first one to be trying a new bean pizza, so you get to be an innovator.
There you go. Be an innovator. Don't be a follower.
Exactly.
I'm sure we want you to go follow, like, and subscribe to all those things as we say that. So do
There we
all
go. That's
do
okay.
all that
That
stuff.
type of
Yeah.
follower is okay.
So, but definitely, yeah, check out a legumeaday.com because it's going to have all this information, so much information. And, if you want to let us know, B Hernandez at WTWHmedia.com. You can let us know what you've done with beans. Maybe it'll get in PMQ Pizza Magazine. So, but I want to say thank you very much for your time today, Chelsea. And we will be seeing you next time we need to talk about beans.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time, and I got some good ideas from you as well, so I'm excited to go try them too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you as well.
Thank you. Bye.